Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast with your host and Offshore Club's expat mom, Alyssa Esquivel, coming to you straight from beautiful Belize, where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, here's your friend, your expert, and your guide, Alyssa Esquivel.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Expat Mom. So excited for another interview with one of our expat families. And I am super excited to introduce you to Jenny today. Her and her family are in Asia, and they have had just an unbelievable experience being able to support the local community and bring some of the skill sets that they have and just benefit the people that are in their community. And really that is the essence of living overseas, right? Is that we have a desire to bring and to be a part of our communities. And so I'm just going to let Jenny share. Jenny, do you just want to start by just sharing a little bit about your family and what you guys do?
Yeah, so we are in Indonesia. We've been here for over 6.5 years now. And we came with just kind of hands open. Let's see how we like this country. My husband and I have both traveled a fair amount, and we kind of had a short list of places we didn't want to move to, but we knew we wanted to raise our family overseas. My husband grew up in Nepal, and we just really loved the idea of being overseas. And so we came to Indonesia. We're like, let's try it out for a year. We'll see if it's a good thing. We'll see if the group that we're going to go work with, if it's a good fit. Really, we just said, like, let's see if this is dysfunction that we can live with, because we knew that every group and every culture and everybody has dysfunction. So is this one that we have the grace for and that we can enjoy? So we've really kind of done it differently than a lot of other expats that I see in my area, in that we didn't come with this, like, we have to move to this one country and this is our place and we have to be there for life. And we were like, if we have the grace for it and we feel like God is with us in that and we feel blessed and we feel like we're impacting the culture and the people around us and we still love the people, then we'll stay. And so 1 year turned into 6 pretty quickly. And we kind of have been like, if it ever comes to a point where we have bad culture days for sure. But if it ever comes to a point where we don't love the Indonesian people, then we need to get out of here, because we are doing more harm than good. And so we are really careful about checking ourselves, making sure that we are, involved with things and that we have life and joy and that we are still have something to give. We're not just so worked and depleted and, with the people around us in this, I'm bitter and I'm going to compare America to Indonesia and stuff like that. We've just seen kind of a lot of that, actually. So yeah, our town is actually a town where a lot of people come for language school. So a lot of people will do language school here and then go out to other islands. We have lots of islands and lots of different people groups here. And so we've just kind of settled in and really enjoyed life here. We have great support system. We have an awesome local church that we're a part of. We have lots of great friends, and it feels very wonderful and like home in a lot of ways. So it's not home for us, because I don't think it will ever be home. I grew up in the States in California. So Indonesia will never fully be my home, but for my kids, it's pretty much all they've known. So we came when my oldest daughter was 3 and my youngest daughter was 9 months. And then I had another one back in the States and brought him over when he was 4 weeks old. And so that's really what they've known for the most part. So that's a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So you and Aaron, both your husband, you guys both have a really great ability to connect to the local culture, but both of the skill sets that you guys bring is, I think, really beneficial. And it's not necessarily the typical thing that an expat would come overseas with, but it's more and more, something that people are going, okay, how do we impact the local community and culture with the skill sets that we can bring to the table? And so can you just share a little bit about what you and Aaron both do? It sounds like we were do, but the day-to-day, I know Aaron's got a lot of experience with community and ecosystems, and that's a whole, yeah.
Yeah. So Erin got a degree in environmental science and loves community development things. I have teaching credential and have a passion for kind of counseling and teaching and all kinds of random things. So we've done a lot of different things in the 6 years. So a lot of English teaching, some working with the church, some just teaching in so many different ways. Lots of different random things. Erin has done a lot of different, they're called biogas systems. That is a really cool thing that farmers use here. So he's been able to build some of those and work with farmers a lot. And we've just jumped into kind of like, now that we've been here long enough and we feel like we see the needs and we feel like we love the culture, we've really like taken a different step and been like, we want to move into the business side of things. We've seen just families struggling, and so we're like, how can we use our skills to bring people jobs and change culture in that way? So by really developing people and loving people. So it's like this business with a real big, purpose. So we do kind of a tourism / community development business now. With COVID, everything changed, and like the rest of the world, we just started our business like officially in February before COVID. Well, maybe that's not true. In the fall before COVID. And so we had like, we oftentimes host different groups and we get to teach them about the culture. And sometimes groups come in thinking like, I'm a white person and I can come and tell people, what to do, or I can like see their primitive bathrooms and like, oh, let me help them. And so we really try to bridge. That's kind of a big calling on our lives, is to bridge kind of the Western world to Indonesia. So a lot of these young people were like, you need to get humble and you need to learn from this culture. And just because you are a foreigner or you're white or you're American does not give you any authority over them. Like, come in as a learner. And so we really try to change the tourism aspect. Don't just go to take, or even as some of these groups come in to like think they're going to come and like save people or change entire places. Like, come in low, come in like a learner, and see what you can learn from someone else and what part you can give to them as well. So it's a mutual benefit. So I really love it. It's super fun. It uses my gifts. It uses Erin's gifts. But because of COVID, everything there's no visas given. And so we've just been like, okay, let's what you do. It's one of the biggest gifts, the things that you need the most on the overseas, I think, is flexibility. And so we just had to like, okay, recalibrate. What are we going to do? So Erin has been able to go and work with the farmers as much as possible with still having precautions. And then I have jumped into teaching at the international school, which we've never been a part of before, but they had an opening for 2nd grade, like a desperate opening. And they were like, please, can you come and teach? So it's kind of amazing how it's worked out. It really feels like kind of divine, not like, oh, this is an opportunity that we wouldn't have gotten normally. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think a lot of what we do is like, we have open hands and we are really dependent on God. Like, God, you show us the people that we can love and help. And it's really, we want to be open to it looking different than how we planned. And comparing ourselves to other expats, we sometimes have lasted longer than other people, I think, because we haven't held on tight to like, this is the way it has to look when I move overseas, or this is what life is going to be like. And I've seen a lot of expat moms, especially, just get so, they hold on so tight to this dream or what they think it should be, or just their expectations are so different than reality. And they can't often shift to, a more realistic expectation. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we've had to constantly, and living in Asia, and in this country, it's very necessary to be flexible and fluid and really able to kind of run with things and roll with it. So mm-hmm. I think that served us well being in Indonesia, that we are able to kind of shift. But there are also times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want an office job. I just want like steady income. I don't want to have people constantly knocking on my door asking for money. I don't want to have to deal with all of it. So in those moments, it's like a re-surrendering and a re-going back to like, okay, you know, remembering what I love about the culture, remembering the people that I love here, rather than getting overwhelmed by some of the negative things that are hard about not being in your home culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that it really, you hit something that I feel like we talked about almost every single episode now, is like flexibility is so key, and realizing that sometimes we go in with this mindset of, like you said, it's going to be X, Y, and Z, and it's got to be that, or it's not going to be right. And in reality, I think realizing some of those things that aren't right are actually some of the things that make it just so beautiful to raise kids overseas.
Yeah.
And releasing some of the things that we think are have-tos, and realizing what really brings life and joy to our family and brings life and joy to ourselves as a couple or to individuals, right? It's recognizing and realizing what really matters and the things that bring life.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about your kids and just their involvement in the local community? I know now you're saying, I think they go to international school now, but they've also been a huge part of embracing the culture. And, like you said, that's home for them. Indo is home for them in a lot of ways. And so can you just, share a little about your kids' experience and being overseas?
Yeah. So there's an international school in town, and most of the expats in town have their kids there. We made a pretty conscious decision that we didn't want our kids to be there. Not that there was anything wrong with the school, great school, but we just knew it could become really small, really fast. And we felt that we really wanted to get to know the culture and make outside friends and have a strong community before we were going to step into the international school. Because we thought, like junior high school, it would be really wonderful and easy transition if the kids do want to go back to the States for college, like really easy transition. Homeschool's harder, still doable. So I've chosen to homeschool also just because of my kids. I felt like my oldest daughter, I felt like she just would do better homeschooling than in a school, traditional school setting. So we had them go to a local preschool. Each of them have gone to local preschool for 2 to 3 years. And that's been just so awesome. I think I would highly recommend that if you can. Couple hours, couple times a week. They were able to make friends. They learned language. They became comfortable with people. I never pushed language on any of my kids. I just didn't want them to feel that pressure to have to learn language. It's just playing through the neighbor kids and going to preschool. And then once they started kindergarten, then I homeschooled them. And so we try to involve them in everything that we do. So they've been to all kinds of things, like random villages on the top of a mountain, and they've gone on like craziest hikes, and they've been to terrible orphanages, and they've seen things that most kids have never seen, just been in mosques, and they've just things that like is not very normal for an American kid, and it's just very normal for them. So we do a lot of prepping them and then debrief afterwards, getting how was that kind of strange, that feel weird, what did you feel about that? So a lot of trying to debrief them after an experience, especially if it was kind of a strange one or traumatic. Not too traumatic, luckily. We try to protect them, but yeah, there's all kinds, because sometimes if we go to a village and they get picked up and taken to the next neighbors, or they get pinched a lot, or all the kids are scared of them and run away and won't play with them. And so they've had to experience a lot. So it's a lot of pressure too on little ones. But so we try to make our home a really safe place. When they come in the doors, they are really like, it's a safe place. And we also are careful about who we allow to hold them or be alone with them. We're really careful about that. But we just luckily we have some really great Indonesian friends, and we have kind of like a group that we work with of all Indonesians. And so they've known those people well, and those are kind of like the aunties and the uncles. So that when we go to those villages or we go to the pasar and everyone's pinching their cheeks and yelling at them, like they don't think this is all Indonesians. Like they already know Indonesians and they already are friends with them and love them. And so they don't think the pasar people, do you know what I'm saying? That's not their normal is to get pinched all the time. So they're like, oh, that's just those people. So we've tried to give them lots of different kinds of experiences and let them be involved. If someone comes and begs at the door, like, do you have something you want to give to them? And do you feel like you need to give some of your allowance? And try to get them involved in life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think just to close out our time today, can you just share one thing that has been like one of your favorite experiences living in Indo and with your family?
That is.
I know. Big question.
I mean, there's so many highlights. There's been so many, so many beautiful things. I think some of the most simple things are my favorite. Like today, my little guy, Gus, he's 3, he went to preschool, and because of COVID, he hasn't been able to go to preschool. So he just started like 2 weeks ago, and he's like loving it. And he was kind of, because we were in the States for a while because of COVID, we got stuck in the States. And so during that kind of like integral time where he was starting to talk, when we came back, he got like, I don't want to speak Indonesian and I don't want to have those people around. And we're like, oh no, we like missed that moment, you know? So we had him start going to preschool, and now he's like, how do you say I miss you in Indonesian? And he's like, just his warmth towards those teachers. And now like to say goodbye, you take the teacher's hand and the kid puts it to his head. And today he did it like on his own to like say thank you. It's just like a little honor thing. And just, so it's like stuff like that where you're like, oh, they are embracing the culture. They're getting it. It's precious. And like they're loving it and enjoying life. I think it's lots of those kind of moments that are impactful to me as a parent, being like, okay, I'm not messing them up. Like this is actually good for them, and they'll be okay, you know?
Yeah. So. That's awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Well,
thanks for letting me share a bit.
I know it's like bedtime for you, so I'm gonna let you put your kids to bed and have a great night. And so glad we got to catch up.
Yeah, have a great night.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us at the Offshore Club. For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Alyssa Esquivel, visit www.offshore.club today. www.offshore.club. That's www.offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.